So in this video, we are going to see about fracture healing. So how a fracture heals, what are the stages of fracture healing. So by Physio Startup, we will move to the next slide now. So in this is a prologue. So what we are going to see is what is a fracture first, then what is the pathology, what is the stages of healing, and local factors influencing the formation of bone. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. So introduction, fracture is a break in the structural continuity of the bone. The healing of the fracture in many ways is similar to a healing of a soft tissue. Wounds expect that results in mineralized mesenchymal tissue, that is the bone. The fracture healing starts as soon as the bone breaks and continues modeling for many years. So bone is a unique ability to repair itself. It can completely reconstitute itself by a reactivating process. Bone repair is highly regulated process that can separated into overlapping histological, biochemical and biomechanical changes. The completion of each stage initiates the next stage that is accomplished by a series of interaction of communication among various cells and proteins located in the healing zone. So the pathology and the healing of a fracture. This events in the process of fracture healing can be divided into three phases: inflammatory phase, reparative phase and the remodeling phase. So this is the inflammation phase. Inflammation starts immediately after the injury, followed rapidly by the repair. After the repair has replaced the lost and damaged cells, the matrix, a prolonged remodeling phase begins. This is the amount required by the inflammatory, reparative and the remodeling phase, the percentage it takes up, and the time and the intensity of the response. So now moving to the inflammatory phase, once the bone is damaged, the blood cells, the surrounding bone matrix, also the periosteum and the blood vessels are damaged. Immediately there will be the rupture of all the blood vessels at the spot, which fills the gap between the two fractured bones and the surrounding area. The clotted blood provides a fibrin mesh which helps to help to seal off the fracture site and allow the influx of inflammatory cells and ingrowth of fibroblast and new capillary vessels to the spot of the fracture site. So as you can see, this is the intact periosteum, torn periosteum, hematoma. This is a dead bone, necrotic marrow. This is the initial events following a fracture of a long bone diaphysis. That is nothing but a long bone. Imagine a long bone like a humerus or a femur. So next, the degranulated platelets and inflammatory cells release PTGF, TGF beta and FGS, fibrinogen aggregating factors and tetra beta factors are also released, and other cytokines which activates the osteoprogenitor cells. The progenitors of the osteoblast cells are activated. So this osteoclast helps in bone formation and in the periosteum, medullary artery and surrounding tissues to stimulate production of osteoclastic and osteoblastic activity. Osteoblast helps to repair, just throw off the bone, dead bone tissue and other dead bone things. Osteoclast helps in new bone formation. Thus, by the end of the first week, hematoma is organizing the adjacent soft tissue is modulated for the future matrix production. Okay, the first being end itself, it is being modulated for the future matrix production. The fusiform and predominantly uncalcified tissue is called a soft tissue callus or procallus, provides some anchorage between the ends of the fractured bone, but offers no structural rigidity for weight bearing. So in this stage, the bone is not ready for the weight bearing, since it is uncalcified tissue and it is only soft callus. It can anytime break. So moving to the reparative phase, the inflammatory cells release cytokines that stimulates osteogenesis, that is bone formation. As the inflammatory response subsides, the necrotic tissue and exudates are reabsorbed and fibroblasts and chondrocytes reappear, starting producing a matrix of fracture callus. Electronegativity in the region of fresh fracture may also stimulate osteogenesis. So what happens now? First, the inflammatory cytokines are released, stimulate bone formation. Also, the electronegativity also stimulates the bone formation. The remaining necrotic and exudate tissues are getting absorbed, and fibroblasts and chondrocytes start producing future matrix and callus for further bore formation. So this is how the bone looks, the early repair of the diaphyseal bone at the long fracture. So the bone looks at the reparative phase, not the phase. The activated osteoprogenitor cells deposit subperiosteal tubercle of woven bone oriented perpendicular to the cortical axis with the medullary cavity. In some cases, the activated mesenchymal cells in the soft tissue and the bone surrounding fracture line also differentiate into chondroblast and make a fibrocartilage and hyaline cartilage. So each mesenchymal cells take a role like a cell in the bone itself. Okay, one mesenchymal cell can change into a chondroblast, one can change into a fibrocartilage, one can change into a hyaline cartilage. This newly formed cartilage undergoes endochondral ossification, forming a network of the bone. In the fashion, the fractured ends are bridged by bony callus. This is the phase the part is getting mineralized, stiffens, strengthens the callus, increases the point where the controlled weight bearing can be tolerated. So this is the point we can begin the partial weight bearing of the bone itself. Then moving on to the remodeling phase, as the callus measures and transmits the weight bearing forces, the portions that are not physically stretched are reabsorbed. And this manner the callus is reduced in size until the shape of the outline of the fracture bone is re-established. So when we are transmitting weight in this phase, some parts doesn't weight bear at all. That parts are all getting reabsorbed so that the bone gets its own shape. The shape before it was fractured. Okay, the medullary cavity is also restored. So this is how the remodeling phase, how it looks. The persistent cartilage, revascularization of the cortical bone and the fibrous bone. So this single picture explains everything, as you can see. Soon after the fracture occurs, the hematoma forms at the injury site. Macrophages and inflammatory leukocytes move into the damaged area and scavenge the dermis, producing the pro-inflammatory stage agents to initiate healing. Then the formation of the soft callus, cell growth, new blood vessels, chondrocytes, collagens, proteoglycans, fibrocartilages that form the soft callus, but this is not ready for weight bearing, whereas the hard callus stage, bone is formed nearly, but it is not woven into a correct shape. So the woven bone replaces the soft callus to create a hard callus, and broken fragments of bones are reabsorbed in this phase. And remodeling is where when we start to weight bearing, the non-disorganized part which is not weight bearing is getting reabsorbed, and only the bone is getting shaped out, but the tissue will heal without a scar. Only a tissue without scar. So these are the factors influencing osteogenesis. Injury variables, what are the type of injury, what the patient is able to bear the injury, does he have any diabetes or any other systemic illness, and the tissue, how is the tissue, whether the quality is good or whether the person is aged and the tissue quality is low, and what is the treatment protocol that is going to be followed. Thank you for watching. Thank you.